My name is Movita Johnson-Harrell. I am a 5-time co-victim of homicide. My father was murdered on March 30th, 1975, Easter Sunday. I was 8 years old. And one of my very few memories of that night is kissing my dad, because my parents were separated at the time, and turning around to go into the house and hearing two loud booms. And the next thing I remember is my pretty Easter two-piece covered in blood, and my father lay on the porch with his chest wide open. And July 1st, 1991, my only brother, who was 2 years older than me, was murdered over a girl. So I've always been very hyper-vigilant about violence, right? And did everything I possibly could to protect my children. But on January 13th, 2011, my 18-year-old son came to Philadelphia to pick up his sister and was shot and killed in a case of mistaken identity. And 2 years later, the fifth child in my house, my first cousin's only child, her son Kyrie Johnson, was at a New Year's party that he didn't even want to go to, and was trying to be a peacemaker between two boys having an altercation. And the boy turned around, put the gun to his chest, and pulled the trigger. And March 5th, 2021, my last surviving son, Dante Johnson, went to California for a long weekend. And him and some friends went into Compton. Somebody wanted fish. My son didn't even eat seafood. And they went into Compton, and someone ran up into the crowd and shot 4 people, and my son was the only fatality. So my son Charles's homicide, the 2 young men both had previous criminal arrest records, so they could not have gotten a gun legally. And while the gun was never found, the 2 guns were never found from the crime, I was informed by the district attorney's office that those had to be illegal guns that these 2 young men had. So while I think there are many things that we can do to reduce gun violence in this country, I think a couple specific things that we can talk about is, one, for all of the faith communities to get involved in stopping gun violence, right? Because it's been so difficult to get government to stop gun violence that it is not going to be until the faithful come together and we put pressure on government. And that's how we're going to be able to stop gun violence. And I think another thing that we can do is, we've had these conversations about 1 handgun a month, right? And 1 handgun a month will stop illegal straw purchases. What many people don't realize is that the majority of shootings that occur, 90% of those are illegal guns, and the majority of those are illegal straw purchases, right? And 1 handgun a month will allow a person only to buy 1 handgun every month, which will stop the gun violence in this country. I think people need to understand, a lot of people are so disconnected from the gun violence that they think, oh, it's not going to happen in my community, like it can't happen in my life, right? But look at what happened in Sandy Hook and in Uvalde and all over this country. It's happened in places that we would not think that it's going to happen in, right? So that's the call to action right there. Like, it could be you tomorrow. So it's really important that everyone gets involved in saving this country from gun violence. And our children's lives are at stake. Literally, all of our children's lives are at stake. We have done some really amazing work in trying to protect young people on both sides of the gun, right? And I would like that to be my family's legacy, that we have fought not just to stop gun violence, but to empower those communities most impacted by gun violence, to empower those people, specifically those young people, to make better decisions other than picking up guns. My faith has been everything, right? With losing both of my sons and still being able to get up every day and still being in my right mind, my faith has led me to continue to fight for people, for life, right? It has afforded me the opportunity to know that my loved ones went somewhere better than here, but that it's my job to protect not just my grandchildren, but other people's children and other people's grandchildren from the constant gun violence in this country.